P0lice chief says rise in knife crime in England is national emergency. UK News. The Guardian. Senior officer calls for emergency funding and Cobra meeting to tackle violent crime. Senior officer calls for emergency funding and Cobra meeting to tackle violent crime. One of England's most senior police officers has called for emergency funding and the convening of a Cobra meeting in Whitehall to help tackle the rise in violent crime. Speaking before talks with the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, the chair of the National Chiefs Council, Sarah Thornton, said the recent spate of deadly stabbings involving young people should be treated as a national emergency. She told BBC Breakfast, "When you have an emergency you get all the key people around the table to solve the problem, setting up Cobra with a senior minister, holding people to account, because it is not just about policing, it's about all the other agencies and organisation. It's an emergency." The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, backed the idea. In a letter to the Prime, speaking later to BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Thornton stepped up her criticism of ministers. "We think we need Thornton, a former chief constable for Thames Valley Police, said there was no doubt the rise in violence was linked to cuts in police numbers. She told BBC Breakfast, "Just look at the facts. There are fewer police. We need to have more officer hours on the streets. We know what tactic." Alongside emergency funding, Thornton also called for longer-term investment to reverse cuts in policing that have led to a 21,000 reduction in police numbers since 2010. "We also need to think about the longer-term investment that we are willing to make into policing. The money this year." Later on today, she suggested that rising knife crime was also linked to cuts in school budgets. "We have seen in a lot, the number of exclusions has been going up. Apparently, it's an average of 40 children a day who are excluded from school. And we also have," Javid, but has been rebuffed by the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, and is thought to have clashed with May on the issue. In an article in the Daily Mail, the former Foreign Secretary to vigorously step up stop and search operations, and ignore those who claim the tactic is discriminatory. Thornton said she would demand government coordination as well as cash at Wednesday's meeting with Javid. "We will be speaking to the Home Secretary about the case for more investment in policing, but also a senior minister getting the key departments and agencies round the table and saying, 'What are you doing?'" she said. There was a really good serious violent crime strategy published last year. "The plans are great. It's about local officers building relationships with local communities that will make a difference, but the difficulty that we have is that we just haven't got the capacity, we haven't got the numbers to do that in the way we'd like to."